Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. How's it going, folks? Doing well? You doing better than Jalen Carter? Yeah, we'll talk about all kinds of things here on the show today. Excuse me as I get my tweeting properly set up for the show. You can follow the show, by the way, on Twitter X at Fantasy Guru site. You can see the show live there. We have a live stream going on as we record. You probably know that by now. You can also watch us live at youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork or on facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Any of those two places, you can watch the show live. You can see my face. You can see the background. You can ask questions, leave comments that we'll address live throughout the show. I am Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. This is Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go about an hour every day, a little less, a little more, depending upon how we're feeling, how we're rolling that day. But the bottom line is we're here with you all week long, Monday through Friday, for free. So hopefully you're enjoying the show. Hopefully you like what we're doing here. Remember, next week we're changing the schedule up just a little bit. No more baseball Mondays. We're going to have football Mondays. Now we'll be reviewing all the weekend action on Monday. I'll be writing solo for the hour-long show. The rest of the week, though, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll be looking at all the sports. We'll be talking, at least when I'm on, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Half the show will be baseball, half the show will be football. Justin Fensterman will do a little bit of mixing, matching on his show, obviously, with some basketball there. We got you covered. We got you covered here on the show. We got you covered over at FantasyGuru.com. Click on the subscribe tab. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. Email support at FantasyGuru.com. Website, FantasyGuru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up. Everything's available. All the sports are available right now. If you still want to get involved with baseball, send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. Let me make a note. Thinking of something there as I'm talking. There we go. Got it ready. You can sign up for any of the products, including baseball. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. The football product obviously is rocking and rolling right now. Thursday night football, we'll talk about it here in a few minutes. Obviously, pretty interesting game. Rain delay, weather delay, excuse me. Spitting, poor performances, kind of great theater last night as the NFL often does. We have that product available, seasonal DFS and wagering right now at FantasyGuru.com. Get signed up. Become part of the largest active community in fantasy sports. Get signed up with us and allow us to help you have success. 2 more ways to watch the show or listen to the show, by the way. I talked about how you could watch the show. You can also listen to the show. You go to FantasyGuru.com, you click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page, or you go to wherever you listen to podcasts and you just type in Fantasy Sports Daily. And hopefully you can find us there. As you can see on the screen, lots to talk about here on the show today. We're going to talk some baseball here for about the first 25, 30 minutes. Then we'll spend the second half of the show talking football with Russell Clay. Russell Clay joins us every Friday. We'll obviously break down this Thursday night football game between Dallas and Philadelphia. What did he see? What did he like? What didn't he like? How do we explain all these things? We'll talk about that with him. We'll also discuss the situation with Christian Kirk being hurt, Matthew Golden ascending early in the season. Dante Thornton, did you see Amari Cooper retired and then unretired and then retired again? We'll talk about Dante Thornton. Thornton talked a lot about the Cleveland backfield. Let's specifically dive into Tillman and Jeudy in the passing attack. And then Christian McCaffrey. You were warned. We'll talk about Christian McCaffrey with Russell Clay. All right, let's talk some baseball here to begin the show. Let me make a little side change there. Actually, before we get to that, just to, I don't want to send this conversation in the wrong direction here and do something that everyone does, but it has to be mentioned. Jalen Carter, what are you doing? Who spits on somebody? Did you see this game last night? Spit on Dak Prescott. Didn't even actually have an offensive play in this game or a defensive play in this game. Carter was ejected. The question is now, does he get suspended? I have never spit on somebody. Have you ever spit on somebody? I have seen people get spit on, and what happens next after you get spit on? There's a fight. It's one of the most degrading things you can do to another person. It's like slapping someone instead of punching him. It's even worse than that. But who spits on someone? Like, what are you doing? And I never played football. Certainly was never a pro athlete. the excitement, the energy, all the passion, everything in week one of a game, first game of the season, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what that adrenaline's like and all that, but I do know I wouldn't spit on somebody. So that was just a wild scene. Yeah, there's other ways to take your aggression out on a football field, like smashing someone. Really don't need to spit on them. Just bizarre. Yeah, just bizarre. Anyway, let's talk some baseball. Oneill Cruz was out of the lineup yesterday. Second time against the Dodgers, he's been out of the lineup. He's been sitting out games against lefties of late because he doesn't hit lefties. And this is an ongoing issue with Oneill Cruz. Dealt with the concussion of late and all that kind of stuff. The bottom line is he's 1 home run and 4 steals away from going 20-40. Now remember, he went 20-20 last year. He's 1 home run and 4 steals away from going 20-40, which would obviously be an impressive season. Now, the problem for him is the batting average has gone in the toilet. He started out so strong in the batting average category. He started out so strong in making contact. Strikeout woes are there. Now, he's 6'7". He's going to have a big strike zone, and that's a thing. But a 32% strikeout rate, as we discussed over and over again, it just doesn't work. Now, the really good news, if there's a silver lining here, is that his O-swing, his chase rate, is down substantially. It was 33% last year. It's 28% this year. So he is, for a positive, doing much better, being much more effective at avoiding chasing pitches. His swing rate is down 5% as well. Maybe that's part of the problem, right? Maybe we're falling behind in the counts. We're getting into pitcher counts, that kind of thing. But he's been discerning, maybe a little too much. But the power and speed have been there as expected. The problem has continued to be his effort against lefties. He did improve upon that last year, and it led to some hope that Oneill Cruz would figure this out. And again, the improvement he showed last year, he had a 686 OPS. Like, he still wasn't very good, but almost average. This year, his OPS is 400. It's actually 395. We're only a couple of full seasons into this. He's 26 years old. He turns 27 next month. You know, it's the Pirates. Like, do you really want to platoon this guy? I don't know, but we're to the point now, you know, it's getting a little scary. It's only 400 plate appearances, but obviously this is something to work on. If he could just be league average against lefties or close, if he could have a 685 OPS against left-handed pitching, he probably hits 250, and his outlook is totally different than if he's hitting 210. So we'll continue to watch this down the stretch. What do the Pirates do? Do they continue to bench him against lefties? Something to think about if you have Oneill Cruz on your team. Obviously a real negative. A real positive with some offensive situations with the White Sox. The White Sox actually have multiple catchers, but they're doing what the White Sox do, which is, hey, you hit, you play, which is what most teams do. But in the case of the White Sox, they've called up a third catcher. They have 3 catchers on the roster, so they're having Teel and Edward Quero both in the lineup on a consistent basis. And it makes a lot of sense. Last night, Teel went 3 for 4 with a double, a homer, 4 RBIs. He's now it's close. He's almost at 300, 400, 450. He's hitting 292 with 392 on base percentage and a 442 slugging percentage. He has been really good. We talked about his promotion. We talked about when he was called up. We talked about my interest level. I added him in a league or two. Hopefully you did too. He has been fantastic for the White Sox. Now, Edgar Quero kind of got lost in the shuffle, which is understandable because Teel is the future for this team behind the plate and all that. But Quero last night, 3 for 5. He had a double, scored a couple of runs. He served as the designated hitter. Oh, and by the way, he batted leadoff last night. And that's, if I learn how to spell, Q-Ray, that's intriguing. I'm trying to type in Quero as we're talking. That's intriguing. He's caught 65 games. He's caught 18. We're now looking at 300 plus plate appearances from him. 289 average, 351 on base percentage. Great numbers. Now, 395 slugging, 106 OPS, 106 isolated power mark. These are bad marks. They're poor. But he doesn't strike out, takes a fair amount of walks, and he's getting base hits. And, it's working right now. I don't know. This is not the long-term answer, right? But Quero is doing a really nice job here of potentially inserting himself in a more substantial way in the future because Teel is the future as the catcher, but he's hitting 383 against left-handed pitching. He's got the exact opposite thing going on against lefties that Oneill Cruz. And against righties, 650 OPS. So, but dominating lefties, passable against righties for a catcher, but overall quite effective. And that's a duo, again, that's working. And How many teams have 2 catcher eligible guys hitting 280 with a 350 on base percentage? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to say 0. I'm going to say 0. Really impressive work for those 2 guys in the early going for the White Sox. Speaking of young players, let's talk a little bit about Carson Williams. Excuse me. We worried about Carson Williams and what would happen with playing time when Ha-Seong Kim was returned to the big league roster. We know that's not the case. Ha-Seong Kim is now part of the Braves, as we talked about on the show yesterday. So let's look at Carson Williams. It's 11 games. That number 1 offensive prospect with the Rays organization. 11 games is not enough to draw any conclusions of any kind. What we do know, he's got 13 strikeouts and 35 at-bats, which is terrible. 33% K rate. That was the big concern that we discussed when he was promoted. Carson Williams has got all kinds of offensive tools. His ability to make contact is suspect. That's just not where you want to be early in your big league career. He's got a home run and a steal in the 11 games. Fine, 15-15 pace over the full season. He's better than that, but that's fine to start his career. The real issue has been, again, making contact. And that is something that is in the scouting report. That is something we've seen in the minor leagues. That is not new. We'll see how this, we'll continue to track this. We'll continue to see how it goes. But that inability to put the ball in play on a consistent basis is going to wreck him. Speaking of O-swing, his O-swing, chasing those pitches out of the strike zone, it's 7 percentage points higher than Oneill Cruz, to just do a little loose comp. Strikeout rates are similar, but the chase rate of Williams is 7 percentage points higher, 34% for the O-swing. That's just not a good mark. And if you look at it, pitchers are throwing first pitch strike to Carson Williams 64% of the time. They're just throwing strikes. They're challenging. The league average is about 61% for a first pitch strike. So pitchers, excuse me, if I'm having problems talking today. Pitchers are not afraid of Carson Williams. They're piping that first pitch fastball and he ain't doing anything with it. So we'll continue to monitor that thing. I think overall this is about what should have been expected with Carson Williams. The good news, again, is that he's likely to play the rest of the way because Ha-Seong Kim is now out of the mix. Yordan Alvarez, who we put down on the show, we've discussed on the show, who I talked about yesterday. Hey, look, this guy, he's pretty damn good. He's the left-handed version of Aaron Judge. He now has a 5-game hitting streak. In 4 of those 5 games, he has at least 2 hits. And in each of the last 2 games, 4 base hits for him. That's 8 base hits in 10 plate appearances. Yordan Alvarez is a star in this league when healthy. All of a sudden, I think he's 13 for 27, something like that now. All of a sudden, the OPS is up over 800. Things are changing quick for Yordan Alvarez. The offense has gotten much better because of his presence. His return just challenges pitchers, as we discussed. His performance the last 2 days has been scintillating. Yordan Alvarez, let's go. He's 13 for his last 27 with 2 home runs and 8 walks. Wow, that's reaching base 21 times in 9 games. That'll work. Ryan McMahon was traded to the Yankees, and I've never had a love-hate relationship with Ryan McMahon. I've always had, I don't want to say hate relationship with him, but I've never had a love relationship with him. And I find it fascinating that so many people have for so long. And I always basically was of the opinion he's just a guy that has Colorado. And now he's with the Yankees, and not much has changed from his time in Colorado. In 35 games with the Yankees, got a 393 slugging percentage. That sucks. 341 on base percentage is really good. Okay, we'll take that. It's only 314 with the Rockies. But a 393 slugging percentage, it was barely 400 with the Rockies. Like, where's the 25 home run guy? What's going on here? He's got 19 home runs, but it's home runs or nothing. Now, the good news is here, he did hit a home run last night for the Yankees. He does have 5 hits the last 2 games. He's got base hits and 6 of 8 games here. Okay, but again, the numbers with the Yankees, just not great. He's obviously hitting down toward the bottom of the order. Let's pull them up if I can figure out how to use a website this morning. In the 35 games, again, he's hitting 240 with a 393 slugging percentage. His 32% strikeout rate with the Rockies is down, quote unquote, to 30% with the Yankees. So not much has changed. He's going to hit his 20 home runs. He's going to, which is going to be the norm for him, as my background goes crazy. That's the norm for him. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the run production. 50 RBIs. He's normally in about 70 range. So he's got time to get that up, but he's probably going to end up just short of expectations. And when you play for the Rockies half the season, and then you play for the Yankees the other part of the season, you expect more than this. Ryan McMahon, just a guy. Slow roll here. Don't get too excited if anyone did. You probably did. Bryan Reynolds, 2 for 3 last night with the walk, couple of runs scored. And, Bryan Reynolds is trying to do the old Michael Harris, right? He's trying to do the old Willie Adames, hey, I'm not where I need to be, but I'm going to finish strong here, and these numbers aren't going to look so bad. And all of a sudden, the numbers starting to look okay. Now, the season numbers still at 250 with a 725 OPS. Not good. He's driven in 4 runs and scored 6 runs his last 6 games after last night. The last 2 weeks, he has 11 runs scored in 13 games. The last month, 17 RBIs, 17 runs scored, 5 home runs in 27 games, while batting .278 with a 940 OPS. He's been Bryan Reynolds the last month. This is great news if you've got Bryan Reynolds, head-to-head, roto, whatever it might be. He's coming through down the stretch here. Just really effective without being a star. Though, again, this is who he should have been. The performance to date has just been a little disappointing for him. Francisco Alvarez is expected to be activated today by the Mets. UCL sprain in his thumb, fractured pinky. He obviously has had a tumultuous season, to say the least. Let me take a sip of water here. A tumultuous season, to say the least. But he's going to get an opportunity here, final 3 weeks of the season, to, I would assume, play most days. As a second catching option, you could do a hell of a lot worse than Francisco Alvarez. Not many catchers in baseball that could hit 5 or 6 home runs here, right? And not bat 180, though. He could hit 5 or 6 home runs and bat 180. Could. I've always liked the skills of this kid. Everyone has. Finding that consistency has been the problem this year, starting and stopping health and all that. Should be activated today. There you go. You know the information. You can make your decision based on that. Speaking of catchers, Will Smith, who hurt his hand, according to Dave Roberts, is not going on the injured list for the Dodgers, which is great news. Negative news, though, is that he's unlikely to play through the weekend. So here's another one of these scenarios like we talked about with Adolis Garcia earlier this week. So Will Smith, good news, he's not going on the injured list, signifying he's not overly injured. Bad news, you can't put him on the injured list and replace him. You're not dropping Will Smith. So you're kind of stuck in limbo. Dalton Varsho and Ben Rorbet will see the playing time with Smith down. Nothing much you can really do. Unfortunately, you just have to hold Smith again. He's expected to return next week. You hold Smith, which takes up the roster spot, which makes it difficult. But you need to do something. Maybe you pick up Francisco Alvarez. You need to do something here, especially for a head-to-head scenario, because he's not expected to play the rest of the week, is Will Smith. Speaking of the Dodgers, Max Muncy's got the oblique issue. Muncy, who is terrible, then fantastic, had multiple injuries here. He's currently down with the oblique injury. He started his minor league rehab assignment last night. The hope is he's available early next week. It might be mid-late week, right? It might be Friday next week before we see him, potentially earlier in the week, depending on the weekend goes. So, we're moving in the right direction. Moving in the right direction with Max Muncy. Hopefully he's back to hitting home runs down the stretch here for the Dodgers. Continuing the Dodger talk. Boo, Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani, who was supposed to start on Wednesday but didn't because of an illness, is going to make his next start on Monday against the Rockies. He did go 5 innings last time, right? So we're in that zone where, he may not go more than that, but he's going to potentially pitch deep enough into the game to qualify for a victory. No one's obviously scared of the Rockies. Monday, Shohei Ohtani scheduled to return to the rotation for the Dodgers. Carlos Rodon allowed 2 runs, only 1 earned, gave across the 6 innings of work against the Astros, and pretty good. 16 wins, won his 5th victory, 5th straight start. Like, everything's great, but is it? He had 3 strikeouts last night, and that's 21 strikeouts in 30 innings of late, which is not good. It's 13 walks in 30 innings of late, which is not good. His first 24 starts, his K rate was 28%. Since then, it's 17%. That is troubling. Okay. He's set to face the Tigers next. The Tigers smash righties, struggle a little bit relatively compared to against lefties because they're Carpenter, Green, a lot of their guys are left-handed. They're not an easy lineup to pitch to, though. Let's watch Rodon very closely next time out. He is simply not in a groove right now. Again, still was effective last night, which is the hallmark of I don't want to say champion, but a very good player. But be cautious with starting him, even in the matchup with the Tigers next time out. Make sure you do your due diligence, read the reports, all that kind of stuff. I'm leaning toward, let's have him out there. I don't know how you really bench him at this point, but we're going to watch that start closely. And if it's more of the same, the concern level is going to go up with Carlos Rodon. Cristian Javier gave up 4 runs last night against those Yankees. He's got 12 walks in 20 innings since he's been activated. He's facing the Blue Jays next time out on the road. I don't think you should have started Javier last night against the Yankees. I'm not leaning towards starting Javier next time out against the Blue Jays either. The lack of control of the strike zone is not – no one could be effective doing that long term. We know that. He's not going to be effective doing that either. So the stuff has been okay for Javier. It's like there's seeds here of the previously successful pitcher on the Astros. But right now, the righty is just struggling to find consistency from pitch to pitch, inning to inning, that kind of thing. So again, caution next time out against the Blue Jays. Don't feel great about where we're at right now with Cristian Javier. Taj Bradley, who I got a question about, multiple questions actually yesterday, in Discord over fantasyguru.com. Went out against the White Sox. I wonder if he read the scouting report. I guess he did. Didn't help because he gave up 8 hits and 4 runs over 5 innings of work. Set to face the Angels next time out. The Angels are not an explosive offense right now. They can't get their lineup healthy. Trout's in and out of the lineup. Shanuel's in and out of the lineup. Again, they're a team that you can attack with pitching. They are better traditionally against righties and lefties, so that's something to think about with Bradley. And in the case of Bradley, there's a lot of negativity going on here, right? And we've talked about him on the show here. For those people that missed it, he admitted recently last week that he never read a scouting report when he was with the Rays. Never read a scouting report, which I don't. Blows my mind. The outing last night was not clean in a winnable matchup. I can't give the thumbs up, the approval to Taj Bradley at this point in time. Long term, if you're in a dynasty league and you want to and you still can make trades and now go get him. In a redraft league, in a 2025 league, I'm just not comfortable starting him next time out against the Angels. Ryan Pepiot, his former teammate with the Rays, was balls good. He threw a no-hitter last night for 5 innings. Now, he needed 90 pitches to get through the 5 innings, so, you can see the 5 innings and wonder, is this part of workload conservation with him? It might be, and we've talked about this with Pepiot. This team, has got no reason to really push him. He's thrown 163 innings, so he now qualifies for the ERA title. He is set to face the White Sox next time out, so a great matchup for Pepiot. As long as he's still active and in the rotation, and at this point in time, we are assuming he's making that next start, he's in your lineup, especially against the White Sox. He's in your lineup. He has had a really impressive season. He's fulfilled all the expectations anyone had for him, and he doesn't look like he's losing anything. I mean, 5 shutout no-hit innings last night. His stuff is still there, something we do worry about with pitchers later in the season. Blake Snell gave up 5 runs in 5 innings against the Pirates. Blake Snell threw 94.5 miles an hour was his average heater last night. Last week, he was under 94 miles an hour. On the season, he's over 95 miles an hour. It's not much, right? But, 1.5 miles, 2 miles an hour, it doesn't sound like much, but it makes a difference. The end of the day, important piece with Snell is health, and he's got the health. The real problem with Snell is that despite utter sheer freaking dominance at times, and we've seen this with the Dodgers already. We saw it with the Giants. We saw it with the Padres. We saw it with the Rays, where he just goes out and it's like 7 starts in a row, and he's throwing 42 innings here in the 7 starts, and he's given up 21 hits. It's just crazy. And even this season, what is he allowed? He's allowed to hit an inning, which is really a high mark for him, actually. The walks have been a problem. And his strikeout rate is 24%, which is basically league average. His career mark is 30%. Last year it was 35%, 31%, 32%, 31%, 31%, 33%, 32%. Those are year over year. It's always 30+%. Right now it's 23.9. So Blake Snell is not the Blake Snell you drafted him to be, though you shouldn't have drafted him. We talked about that in the preseason. But anyway, he's it's kind of wonky right now. And he's likely to make his next start against the Rockies or the Giants. You're still starting him in those efforts, but you just can't have a high level of confidence with him right now because he's just been wonky. Freddy Peralta, exactly the opposite. I got a no decision yesterday against the Phillies, but gave up 2 hits over 5 shutout innings, and I just wanted to give him a shout out. Nothing new to report with Peralta. You're starting him next time out against the Rangers, all that kind of stuff. 2.5 ERA, a 1.07 WHIP, way over a strikeout an inning. I haven't gotten a question or anything about Peralta. I assume it's just because he's been balls good, and he has. He's been balls good. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. It's probably not, but he has been. Freddy Peralta. See a question here from Alex O asking about Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez is expected to return today against the Royals. He's been sidelined since June with the shoulder issue. We don't know if the Twins are going to go 6-man rotation. Like, we don't know how it's going to go beyond today, right? So today's first step of what hopefully will be 3-4 starts the rest of the way for Lopez. 5 maybe if things go great, which I don't think they will. And what are we at in the calendar? 4 starts the rest of the way. Would I start him today? My default, Alex, is always no. Starting guys back, coming back from injury, I'm just reluctant. We're at the point of the season where it's not like the Twins are trying to make the playoffs. If Pablo Lopez goes out and throws 67 pitches the first 3 innings, they might just pull him from the game, right? If he comes out and he gives up, 5 base hits the first 2 innings, they might just take him out of the game. Like, it's not. We have no guarantee of depth in the effort here. So I'm very reluctant to start him today. I would lean no to starting him today. I did not, I haven't gone through the entire slate yet. I do that a little bit before the show and a little bit after the show as I'm writing the DFS article over at fantasyguru.com, which will be up here in a few hours after the show. So I haven't completely filled, but Pablo Lopez, to me, I really don't want to start Pablo Lopez today. Again, I don't know your scenario and everything you're dealing with. But for me, Alex, I'd be very reluctant to start Pablo Lopez today. We'll talk some football with Russell Clay here in a couple of minutes here. I see a question from David P., and let's address that here on the show. Hi, Ray. I need one of Amari Hampton, DeAndre Swift, or Garrett Wilson. Another question, please. Justin Fields and Drake May are available. Which one would you like better for the season? Thank you. I'll answer that one. Justin Fields is the guy I prefer over Drake May. I don't like carrying 2 quarterbacks unless you have a bench of 8+ spots, or you're in a super flex or a 2-quarterback league, or if your QB1 is Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, okay. Generally speaking, I don't like carrying 2 quarterbacks, okay, because there are just better ways to spend roster spots. Secondly, a guy like Justin Fields is going to be terrible this week against the Steelers, most likely. It's his most difficult matchup of the season. Now, maybe he rips off a 42-yard touchdown run, okay. But as we talked about yesterday with Tyler Beaker, this is a really bad matchup for Justin Fields this week. So I like the question, better for the season. We're adding Justin Fields for the season. We're not adding him for this week. We're not starting him this week. I don't know who your other quarterback is, David. But again, I don't like 2 quarterbacks. And if both these guys are available, obviously your league doesn't like drafting 2 quarterbacks either. To the start-sit question. I said this in Discord yesterday. I'll say it again here on the show, just so everyone knows. I answer a ton of stardom sit-em questions in the Discord over at fantasyguru.com. 90%, and I'm not exaggerating, 90% of my answers are going to follow the rankings. So really asking stardom sit-em questions is kind of a waste of time because it's very rare that I'm going to, deviate from the rankings in a substantial way. In terms of your direct question, Amari Hampton, DeAndre Swift, and Garrett Wilson, the answer is yes. Okay? The answer is yes. Garrett Wilson's a top 20 wide receiver every week. Amari Hampton's a top 20 running back every week. DeAndre Swift is a top 20 running back every week. All of these guys start. I don't know why people do leagues where you're not starting these guys. Are you in an 8 or 10 team league? Do you only start 2 wide receivers? People can do a great job drafting. And maybe, David, you just did a bang-up job drafting. But I see way, way, way too many questions, such as this one, where I'm telling you to start one of the top 50 players in football. You got to get in deeper leagues. You just have to. No, I'm not talking to David. I'm talking to everyone. You got to get in deeper leagues. Hampton should start every single week. DeAndre Swift should start every single week. Garrett Wilson should start every single week. None of these three guys should ever, no matter what the matchup is, even ever be benched, ever. I just did speak about the matchup for the Jets against the Steelers. In this scenario, I'll leave Garrett Wilson out. That leaves Hampton and Swift. I mean, again, let me pull up the rankings here this week at fantasyguru.com. Both Hampton and Swift are top 15 running backs this week, and we're benching at least one of them. So we're going with Hampton here. But again, to me, it's crazy that DeAndre Swift will be on your bench this week. And by the way, Ethan B said Martin Perez streaming against the Tigers tomorrow. Again, it's a better play against the better play for a left-handed pitcher against the Tigers. Let's pull up the stats real quickly here. He's pitched very well. I mean, again, it's Martin Perez, and he's Martin Perez. Like, the Tigers. I misspoke. The Tigers actually have been quite effective this year. It's just been some of the big boppers down. They are second in the league in WOBA against left-handed pitchers. They have the fourth best on-base percentage. I'd be reluctant. He's pitched well, but I'd be reluctant there. Ethan. All right. It's a Friday. We talked football on Friday with Russell Clay. Russell Clay announced the big announcement last week. He didn't wait until this week because, which is good because we actually broke the news here because I heard him talking about it with Jeff Mans on SiriusXM yesterday. But we'll bring Russell in to talk Thursday Night Football. We'll bring him in to talk some news and notes around the league as we're discussing week one. And we'll give him an opportunity to yet again make the announcement that is shaking the hallways of the fantasy sports industry. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Russ?
I'm good, Ray. How are you?
Had a little bit of a hard time talking this morning. Not really sure why, but that's my cross to bear, as they say. What is that big announcement that we did announce? Let's announce again.
Yes, I'll be doing a recap show with Justin Fensterman on Sunday afternoons on SiriusXM. So we'll lock that in, give some commentary, fire off to some commercials, and see how this all goes, right?
Yeah, what time was the show on, Russ?
6 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern. There you go. Russell Clay, the new fantasy star at SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So listen to him and Justin. You can hear Jeff Mann's show Monday through Friday. That's 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe Jeff will be on again Sunday mornings from 8 to 10 Eastern with Bob Harris. I think that's true. Sorry, Jeff, if it's not. And then Russ. So we get Jeff in the mornings, and then Russ and Justin in the evenings. I got a little angry there, a little upset there. Isn't it frustrating to you? We had that question about who do I bench? I need one of Garrett Wilson, Amari Hampton, or DeAndre Swift. And like I said, you need one of those three. The answer is yes. Like, I don't understand why people do leagues that are shallow, that makes their decisions on a weekly basis more difficult, and also doesn't allow them to take advantage of great drafting. Like, all three of those guys have got to be starting. If those are your three worst guys for your flex spot, you did a great job drafting and you can't take advantage of it. Do you feel the same way, or is that just me?
It's like in the movies where they have the geniuses doing the big math equations on the board. And then, us normal folk look at that and say, I don't know what that is. And some of these questions, I'm like, it is week one. This is a complex equation you already have, and it's week one. What is this going to look like by week 10? I won't say it pisses me off, but I look at that and say, you are killing yourself. You're literally taking maybe days, months, a few hours off your life, striving over I saw a flex question yesterday, week one, with 4 or 5 guys in it, and I'm just saying, just get in deeper leagues or do best ball or find another way. But obviously we all love redraft, we all love start set. But yeah, when I see questions like some of the ones I saw yesterday, I go, hey, I don't have to actually, I'll make this decision for you, but I don't have to live with whoever's on that bench. So Yeah, it's a grind for sure.
It's weird. And then you get the question, like, do I start, Tyrone Tracy, Jordan Mason, Nick Chubb, or Trey Benson? And it's like, it's so wild how there's such a difference. Like sometimes we're telling people oh my gosh, this is really bad. Other times we're saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How could you make a decision? I told someone yesterday because they were asking me, and I forget who it was at this point, but it was like Devon Achane and, Garrett Wilson or something was the question. I was like, look, it doesn't matter. If that's really your flex, it doesn't matter. Your team's going to win. So anyway, we'll move on. Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Interesting game last night, right? Close game between Dallas and Philadelphia. Philadelphia emerged with a victory. We had the spitting incident at the start. We had a lot of things going on in the game. Let's talk a little bit about this passing attack of the Eagles. Oof. I mean, their leading receiver was Jahan Dotson. I mean, we know there will be games where the Eagles will run the football, not pass a lot. They only threw the ball 23 times last night. And to Hurts' credit, he was 19 for 23. He was extremely effective. But Devonta Smith had 3 catches for 16 yards. A.J. Brown didn't catch a ball until like 2 minutes left in the game. What the hell happened last night in a matchup where they should have been able to push the ball down the field?
We're at the point where teams are just trying stuff against the Eagles and none of it works no matter what. It feels very similar to when I was first started really watching sports, and it was Shaq. And it was at the point where teams just had extra centers so they could foul him like 15 times a game. And that was half the strategy. And then they did hack a Shaq and it all evolved. But early on, it was like, all right, I guess we're trying this tonight. And there is no real way to beat this Eagles offense right now if they play well. And Jalen Hurts is so good at managing this team. It's either you load up against the run or you guard the outside really well, or you stop Saquon individually. But whatever you do, there is a hole in the dam, and it's either Jalen Hurts running, it's Dallas Goedert squirting out, it's Jahan Dotson with a 50-yard catch. I've long waved the white flag on the Jalen Hurts hate. I mean, he's so good. Whatever this is, he is so good at it. So it sucks for the passing game, but what I will say is just keep throwing them in there because there will be weeks where AJ Brown's just wide open because there some team tried something else and it failed miserably. So yeah. And
just to say it, because that's the follow-up question, right? AJ Brown still starts every week.
Yeah.
And if you've got 3 wide receivers starting, most likely Devonta Smith starts every week, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Again, it's going to be week to week. There's going to be more weeks like this. It's going to suck. You're going to be pissed. And then there's going to be 30-point fantasy weeks. So it is what it is.
I mean, Saquon Barkley had 22 touches last night. Most weeks when you get 22 touches for him, you're going to get a lot more than 84 yards from scrimmage.
Yep.
He had 84 scrimmage yards in the touchdown. Not what people were expecting. But if that's a down effort, still pretty damn good, right, Ross?
Yeah, I think he ended with 18 or 20 fantasy points. That if that's the floor, we're going to have a really good year.
What about on the other side here with the Cowboys? Lots to discuss here. You're welcome, everybody that I told to start Javonte Williams. Didn't get one thank you this morning. Javonte Williams, now let's be clear about this. He was the guy. He dominated the touches. He had 17 touches last night. He did absolutely nothing at all last night. He didn't look good last night. He had 2 one-yard touchdowns. So before anyone takes a victory lap or gets excited or drops Jaden Blue, which I've seen that question 512 times, Javonte Williams didn't do anything last night except fall in the end zone twice. Did you see it differently than I did?
I saw it the same, unfortunately. I want Javonte Williams to be good. In theory, he would be good, but in reality, he's 3.6 yards per carry, and those 2 touchdowns got us there last night. So That was good. Again, Jaden Blue, same play as it was before the season started. I still like Blue. I still like this offense. The George Pickens thing. Listen, he drew another 50-yard pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start giving him points for that because that is his main move and he gets no fantasy points for it.
Right.
And then people see it at the end of the day. It is the same thing as a 50-yard catch. But obviously those are just going to continue to happen and he's not going to score those fantasy points. So he's going to have big weeks, but unlike the Eagles, it's a little less functional in Dallas and beyond CeeDee Lamb. It's kind of yucky over there.
To reiterate what Russ said, Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com, I completely agree because I've seen the Jaden Blue question. I'm streaming. It's on social media everywhere. It's in Discord everywhere. Folks, you didn't draft Jaden Blue to lead this team in week one. No one on Fantasy Guru staff thought that Jaden Blue was going to lead this team in week one. Now, was it surprising he was inactive? Sure. But who cares? You drafted Jaden Blue with the belief, the expectation that he would lead this team in the second half of the season in the backfield and very likely lead this team over the course of the season as a running back. Not in week one, not in week two, maybe not in week four. So I think this is something that caused a lot of problems because you know how this goes, Russ. This is going to happen all weekend where we're going to get up performances, we're going to get down performances, people are going to change rosters. Jaden Blue was always a long-term play. If you weren't in on Jaden Blue as a long-term play, you shouldn't have drafted him, correct?
Correct. And we're going to see people start dropping him. But I will caution, the most important play in that entire game was the Miles Sanders fumble right before they took us to a 17-hour weather delay that crushed my soul. But that's not good for Miles Sanders. And he did not look good before that. He had one big play. But I would keep an eye on that for next week. And it's incremental. You want to see Jaden Blue go from healthy scratch, 5 snaps, 10 snaps, maybe 25-30% of the touches, and then on from there. This is a slow burn. And I guess the real question is, how deep is your league? Because if you're in a 16 roster spot league, then maybe you can think about dropping him because it's going to be a slow burn and he'll probably be on the wire. But if you're in 20 roster spots leagues, you knew what you were getting into, and I would continue to wait.
And I'll just say it because I'm obnoxious, but randomly grabbing backup running backs is not a strategy. It's randomly grabbing backup players. So have some conviction. Whoever it is, whoever you want, don't be the person that does what someone in your league is going to do the following. They're going to do drop this week, drop next week, drop in week 4, drop in week 6, and they're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, if I just kept the guy dropped in week 1, guess what? So again, randomly each week, and this question comes 50 times a week, randomly grabbing backup running backs is just guessing. Invest in systems, invest in schemes. You'll be better off in the long term. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Final question. I see Angelo make a comment here. We had Dallas Goedert 13th this week at the tight end position. Angelo was surprised Goedert being utilized like that. You mentioned Goedert. Goedert did catch 7 passes for 44 yards. Now, it's very possible 7 catches is season best. Very possible that happens. We had him do that. We had Ferguson catch 5 for 23. Ferguson or Goedert? Do you have a preference this season? Pretty similar. One of those stick out. I know you're a big Schoonmaker guy, but he only saw 1 target last night, and I think he only had 15 snaps.
I like Goedert. I liked him at his price before the season. He's not going to compete with the Brock Bowers and Trey McBrides of the world, but he was always an every week starter to me. I know he wasn't great the last couple years, dealt with some injuries too, but they've always had respect for him in this offense, and he's been used. Again, it is the leak in the well. There's going to be a lot of weeks where teams just say, all right, Dallas Goedert, if he beats us, he's going to beat us, and he is going to beat them. So there's going to be more games like this. But keep in mind, there's also going to be games. We talked about this specific game flow. There's also going to be games where, again, A.J. Brown has 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. Saquon has broken off 3 20-yard runs, and it's over by halftime, and then Goddard's got one catch for 12 yards. So those are going to happen, but that's what we play fantasy for. So more weeks like this to come.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com joins every Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio each Sunday night, throughout the season with Justin Fensterman. Christian Kirk's got a hamstring issue. Christian Kirk, supposed to be the number 2 wide receiver for this team, the Texans, but they did draft Higgins. They did draft Noel. Kirk is going to miss week 1, according to Adam Schefter. There's a possibility he misses more than week 1. Is it Higgins? Is it Noel? Who's the guy to get right now if he's on the waiver wire?
It is Higgins, but both play different roles. So Stroud to Higgins is intriguing, but Noel is actually the Tank Dell type guy. So if you're looking for the other Tank Dell and 3 wide receiver sets, it's probably going to be Jalen Noel. With that said, Higgins was a high pick. They clearly brought him in to play opposite Nico. And the real answer is Nico's going to continue to crush. And there's no running game. So maybe we get high volume Stroud. I'd love that.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. More Packer talk. Let's keep the young receiver talk going. The Packers was a storyline that we've covered all preseason. Drafting Matthew Golden, the receiving core. Who's the guy? Jaden Reed was limited with his foot injury yesterday. Still uncertain about week 1 for him. Devontae Wicks was limited with the calf injury. Still uncertain about him. We know Christian Watson's out with his knee injury. We have all the excitement about Matthew Golden, right? That drum beat has been getting louder and louder and louder. And as we get closer to kickoff for the Packers, it's starting to look more and more like, at least in week 1, he's going to be the guy because everyone else is just at some various level of health. What are we doing? Is Matthew Golden, is he somebody that, hey man, maybe this week he's a must start kind of guy? Are we getting to that level already? Or is that getting way too ahead of ourselves?
We're heading there. We really are. Everyone on that Packers depth chart is dropping like flies. We saw that Jaden Reed's going to play through an injury, and Wicks, Dobbs, the rest of those guys, Christian Watson's out. They're not totally exciting players like Golden could be. So in theory, if Golden is who they want him to be, he's going to thrive. Now we see plenty of times these rookies get out there week 1 and maybe they're not ready, or they drop a pass or two and they start going away from them. So can Golden make that catch early? If he does, it could be lights out, and he could be a solid fantasy weapon from week 1. Again, first round pick, high end athlete. Depth chart is opening right up for him. So yeah, I mean, if you drafted Golden, you're in a great spot for redraft right now, because this is the upside you look for: a first round wide receiver with a good quarterback in a healthy offense. So this is it. This is the play right here.
Best case scenario, like we've seen Malik Neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Best case scenario for Golden this year: Marvin Harrison last year. Is that best case scenario, or is there potentially more than that?
Oh yeah, like 800 yards, right around there would probably be the ceiling for me, unless he goes berserk. And I was not a huge Matthew Golden guy in the draft process, but this is where I've evolved to okay, first round wide receiver. I mentioned all that stuff already. 800 yards would be a huge win where you got him. That doesn't sound very good if you're in a redraft league, but getting him where you got him, if you could get 800-900 yards, that's a real win there. And
Russell Clay, fantasyguru.com, he did do a bunch of analysis on draft picks by position. So you can check out quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end in the offseason. So check that out. Still over there. I mean, this Amari Cooper thing, some people argue he retired last year, but he played last year, went to the Bills. On paper, this was great. Just wasn't part of the team. He just didn't happen. Didn't sign with anybody this season. Whispers that he kind of retired. He unretires, goes back to the Raiders. I don't know. Was he with the Raiders for 36 hours? I don't know how long it was. He retires again. Jacoby Myers wants to be traded because he's not getting paid. They're not trading him. It's Myers and Bowers. I got a bunch of questions yesterday about Dante Thornton, though, who does appear to be ahead of Jack Besh. There's only Trey Tucker there kind of in the mix, too. So there's obviously an opportunity here. Who is Dante Thornton, and under what scenario should he be added off the waiver wire? Because, again, a lot of people wanted to do it with this news with Cooper yesterday.
As someone who has some Trey Tucker shares, I'm selfishly wondering if we're going to get to week 1 and Trey Tucker is going to be the guy who has the big plays. I'm glad you mentioned him. Mm-hmm. Thornton is a good player, 6'5", big bodied, middle round pick, but a lot of opportunity there. And when you see guys like this, Amari Cooper basically did the Reggie Wayne with the Patriots where he got into training camp. He said, I'm not playing. I'm not playing on this team. So clearly Cooper saw something that said he's not going to play. I mean, of course it could have just been he doesn't love the game anymore, but he probably saw something that hinted at, all right, there's a lot of young guys on this roster. They're probably going to get them snaps. I'm probably not going to play. It's one of those guys in that locker room that did that to him. So
it could be Thornton, right?
If it's Thornton, we could be in for a big year for him. Geno, I'm not a huge Geno guy from winning a Super Bowl perspective, but for fantasy, he was really good in Seattle for volume. So yeah, keep an eye on those guys.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. We spent a lot of the preseason talking about the backfield and the quarterback position with the Browns, right? We know it's Joe Flacco to start the year. We don't know how many starts he's going to make. Right now, it's Jerome Ford starting with Sampson as the support piece. Quinshon Judkins, if he ever signs, will get involved there. What about the two receivers, the two top guys here, Tillman and Jeudy? In general, is it Judy's a 2 and Tillman's a 4? Is it matchup based? Because, I mean, traditionally, when Joe Flacco has been the quarterback, especially the last few years, he's thrown the ball 38 times a week, right? And he's going to throw the ball 8 or 9 times to Njoku. 20 targets going to wide receivers, right? So how excited should we be on a consistent basis with Flacco as the quarterback for Jeudy and Tillman?
You know, I just looked back at Tillman's 2024, and I could have sworn he had 800 or 900 yards. Mm-hmm. He had that 3-game stretch, and then he was basically out for the season.
Yep.
He was really good in that 4-game stretch there. But Jerry Jeudy was a better prospect, and I think was clearly superior at his ceiling last year. So I got to go with Jeudy there. The real truth is we got to sweat out every week if Joe Flacco is going to stay the starter, because once we go to the rookies, it's going to get ugly. But we know Slinging Joe over there, 40 times a week at age 40. He doesn't care. He's already won Super Bowls. He's already made hundreds of millions. He's just out there to sling it now. So it's going to be fun, but he's going to have, 4 interception weeks or whatever.
And finally, it comes full circle. I can't talk. I'm so excited about this. We have said as a group, not everyone agrees specifically, but as a group, we have said, don't take Christian McCaffrey in the first round at fantasyguru.com. This last 24 hours might end up being an absolute nothing burger. Totally fair to say that. But out of nowhere, after being told for 2 months he's totally fine, he's totally healthy, everything's good. Same thing they told us last year. Everything's fine with Christian McCaffrey. He's limited at practice yesterday with a, wait for it, calf issue. Now there's uncertainty. So I'm not going to ask you what you do, because if you drafted McCaffrey in the first round, I think you made a huge mistake. Jeff Manns has said that 47 times. That's on you completely. So it's not about Christian McCaffrey. It's now about the rest of the backfield here. Brian Robinson, depending upon when you drafted, you might have taken him as your running back too, as a commander. I'm sure you kept on holding on to him.
Yep.
I don't think he's on the waiver wire, though I did get a waiver wire question about him this morning. So I guess there are some leagues where Brian Robinson's available. I saw another question that I haven't got to yet, that are we all adding Isaac Guerrero now? You have the floor, Russell. What are we doing? Christian McCaffrey, probably okay, but who the hell knows?
Ray, do you know who David Goggins is?
I don't.
Crazy.
Who's
Crazy. He's a motivational speaker, crazy motivation guy. And I just feel like we got to put motivational music to this Christian McCaffrey thing and say, listen, you're dealing with adversity right now. You just drafted a guy, and that calf injury, the same one from probably last year, is popping up again. You can have this adversity and you can complain and be a victim, or you can say, I'm going to learn my lesson here. And this is going to be my lesson of injuries don't reset. Once a guy gets all these injuries, they don't just wash away like we want them to with the Madden reset in the offseason. We're here. It's the same calf as last year, Ray, that he missed almost the whole seson.
And it doesn't even matter which calf it was because it was both. So
yeah, it's both. This sucks if you drafted him in round 1 or 2. But this was always there. And our staff as a whole, and there were louder voices than myself, but this was always here. And he's 29 and he's had 2,000 touches in his career, and he's a smaller back, and there's no guarantee he was going to be featured from the beginning. So who do we pick up? Probably Brian Robinson, but he's not out there. It is chaos. It is a mess. The fact that they leaked this literally a day before the season starts and 3 or 4 days before his season starts is brutal, but this is your chance. This is your adversity. Learn your lesson. And then in future years, you'll get to watch the people draft the guy, right?
2 questions for you. Let's start out with, I have Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And I have Brian Robinson. Do I now go add Isaac Guerrero? Let's assume it's like a 12-team league, 6 bench spots. Do you go 3 deep with the Niners if you have McCaffrey and Robinson? Do you get Guerrero?
Do I?
Do you?
I probably would. I would never advise someone to grab 3 running backs from the same roster. I just can't do that.
Okay.
Would I if it's 20 roster spots? Yes, but I generally that is bad process. But in this type of unique situation, we do want to have all of our bases covered. I would generally make a choice in a 16-teamer, though. I probably wouldn't keep 3 in a 16-teamer.
Question 2. Isaac Guerrero's on the waiver wire. We want to do what I don't want anyone to do: grab random running backs. Okay, this different scenario. Do you grab Guerrero? What's your excitement level to get Guerrero? Because I'm sure in most leagues, when Brian Robinson was signed, Guerrero was dropped, Robinson was picked up, Guerrero's probably floating on the waiver wire in a ton of leagues. Under what scenario do you add Guerrero? Because again, McCaffrey might play this week and touch the ball 20 times. We just don't know. But what are we doing with Isaac Guerrero if he's on the waiver wire?
It's a gnarly question, Ray. I would try to pick him up if I already have Robinson. You got to keep in mind, and I meant 16 roster spots, not 16 teams. Right. If it's 16 teams, you're picking up all these guys.
Yeah, right.
3 out of 16 is just under 20% of your roster, and you have to roster quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, maybe kicker, defense. There's just not that much room to be holding up with 1 running back depth chart. So I would try to pick up Guerrero, but if it's 16 roster spots, I probably would just let him stay out there.
Christy has got a question before we let you run here, Russ. And it's that question that we were talking about earlier. Kelsey and Metcalf start every week.
Oh no.
Yeah. In this scenario, we've got a wide receiver tight end spot. We got to choose one. Metcalf, obviously, in a difficult matchup with Jets, though it's a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers. And as I said earlier, Aaron Rodgers is going to try to have 7 touchdown passes in this game. So whenever they're near the goal line, he's going to throw the ball. We know that Metcalf can high point a football. He's huge and athletic and all that. You got Kelsey, who doesn't have Rashee Rice this week. It's very likely that Kelsey's heavily involved early in the season as a result of that, especially because they're theoretically top 2 wide receivers and Brown and Worthy are about 5'9", 180 pounds each. Yes is the answer to this question, Chris. They both are must starts. If you had to choose one, though, Russ, Metcalf or Kelsey?
I'd probably go Metcalf, purely based on Travis Kelsey's now engaged to be married to Taylor Swift, and the regular season football. I just don't know how much he's going to care about that ever again at 35
He says he cares a
years
lot,
old.
though. Didn't you hear? He's reinvigorated.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You wouldn't if you had Taylor Swift at home?
He's just having life experiences that no other football player will ever have, and I just wonder the motivation there. But I would go Metcalf. But yeah, of course, we know Kelsey. We know his game, and week one could be featured with no Rashee Rice. So both are starts this week, but I would go Metcalf.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com will be joining us every Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time throughout the year. He'll be in Discord through the weekend helping set lineups. He's writing articles. He's updating the Dynasty rankings. Your Sunday show, give it to the folks yet again. What time and where can they find it, Russ?
Yeah, 6 p.m. Eastern on Sirius, the Fantasy Channel. Go check it out and have fun with us. We're going to tilt the games, probably going to talk about all the things you're unhappy with on your fantasy team and some of the good stuff too. So it'll be fun.
6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Usually the show is later, so you get a chance to react to some of the afternoon games, which is nice. It'll be a 2-hour show, I assume. Is that correct? 6 to 8? 6 to 8 with Justin Fensterman. So that's great news. You are our Dynasty guy over at fantasyguru.com. And once the season begins, responsibilities change. How often will you be updating the Dynasty rankings in season? When does that occur, Russ?
Still once a week, every Wednesday. We're gonna roll those over, especially that first month. There's a lot of movement, so every Wednesday. Sometimes I hop on TikTok and do lives. So if you guys want to be involved in the rankings, I mean, I'll probably shoot some of your ideas down, but there's always some good insight from our subscribers.
So Russ is on the radio. He's on this show. He's doing Dynasty work. He's answering season-long questions. He also does college football. Talk to us about that piece of what you do, Russ.
Yes, college football is here. NFL or college football DFS. We have a bunch of articles coming out on the site. We have main slates, afternoon slates, night slates. Tons of college football going on this time of year. Hundreds of games, so should be a lot of fun.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. You can follow him on Twitter X at Russell J. Clay. And as you can tell, you can basically find him everywhere else too. Thanks for your time today, Russ. Appreciate it. I hope that you have a great weekend with college football and the start of the NFL season. Kill it on Sunday night on Sirius XM, and we'll talk to you here next Friday.
Thanks, Ray.
For Russell Clay, I'm Ray Flowers. Head over to fantasyguru.com. If you haven't signed up yet, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up. Seasonal football, DFS football, wagering football, college football. We'll toss it in. Sign up over at fantasyguru.com. We'll see you back here on Monday to review Sunday's game action for week 1 of the NFL on Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Russ, I'm Ray. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Monday.